For the month of February, we got a bunch of licensed games and a recommendation that you can really dig into. Welcome everybody to Devoted Gaming for February 2019. My name is LJ Lowry, aka Warhero LJ, from Geeks Under Grace, and I have a whole bunch of great recommendations for you. First of all, let me break it down if you have not seen an episode of Devoted Gaming. First of all, we're going to talk about some games for the family, where you can find some games that are coming out this month that you can play around the whole family, that maybe your kids can even enjoy, and I think we're going to have a whole lot of that for you on this episode. The second segment is games for teens and adults. These are the games that are going to be mostly rated far into the teen and M ratings, and these are games that you may not want your kids to play. They are games that are going to have a little bit of violence and some gore and some other heavier themes when you get down to the M rating. But these are going to be games for you adults that you can really dig into. And then the last and final segment of Devoted Gaming is my personal recommendation, and I'm really happy to bring this one to you this week. And I think you're really going to like it. So let us get started with our first gaming release. On February 14th, you have Ollie Ollie Switch Stance. And so Ollie Ollie is an indie game in which it's all about skating. It's all about getting through these levels, scoring high, and completing these objectives. This one does have a teen rating, but it kind of walks the line. The most violence you're going to find is from bailing, and there is a little bit of blood, but ultimately I think this is really a fun game, and it's a good time. It scratches that itch for those of you who are Tony Hawk fans. This is a 2D side-scroller with some pixelated, like retro-looking graphics. This Switch release on the 14th contains Ollie Ollie 1 and then Ollie Ollie 2, Welcome to Ollywood, I believe it's called. And this one has both games that provide a lot of content. You're going to get your standard levels, and once you complete those levels and all the challenges in them, you unlock pro versions of levels, which get even harder. And so I am fully recommending this. I have this game on my PS4 and PC. I have all these, both of these games, and I will be getting this on Switch as well. These are good, fun games that I think you and your family will be able to enjoy, regardless of that teen rating. So I recommend check it out on the Switch or any other platform that these are already on. I recommend buying it on the Switch because it will be $15, and these games might be a little more pricey individually on other platforms. So check that out and enjoy some old school skating. Alright, these next batch of games are going to be some licensed games. Who knew licensed games in 2019? Oh yeah, they're still coming out with them. This first game is Dragons, Dawn of New Riders, from the DreamWorks property. So everybody's excited for How to Train Your Dragon 3. The hook here is that this is a whole new story with all new characters and all new dragons that you can check out. This is coming to all platforms, and this will be coming on the 15th, the day after Ollie Ollie comes out. And if you got some kids that really love this franchise, I know a lot of adults, including myself, love this franchise. So it's something to keep your eye on, especially if you enjoy the franchise. It looks like it's going to have some light RPG elements and things like that, but this is a whole new story, and it will be interesting to see how DreamWorks plans to expand this property, especially after this new movie is meant to be the last. Again, you can grab this on Nintendo Switch, PC, PS4, Xbox One, or whatever your platform of choice is. So check it out, and if you do, let me know what you think, because I'm curious. For the next game on our list, everything is awesome, or at least I hope all these games are, because Lego Movie 2 has a video game coming out for it, another licensed property. They actually came out with a game based on the first movie. I personally don't know how it was, but one thing I can tell you is that these Lego games are pretty solid all around. You're going to have a great time with family. A lot of people were introduced to the LEGO games during the LEGO Star Wars releases. But they are still putting this out. They put out games in the past like LEGO City Undercover, LEGO Lord of the Rings, LEGO Harry Potter Collection. LEGO Movie Video Game 2, I think I said that wrong. It's literally called the LEGO Movie Video Game 2. Is coming out to everything. This is coming out a little bit later on February 26th. So I know everybody's looking forward to that movie, kind of in the same way we're all looking forward to Dragons. It's an interesting time for movies and these franchises. So there are still companies out there that want to capitalize on that, make some video games out of them. So I recommend this, especially to play with your kids and family and friends. Regardless, this is a LEGO game, and I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to get out of this. And so I hope you enjoy this one. It should be a good time. Alright, that is going to be it for games for the family, and we are going to move on to the next section, games for teens and adults. And we are going to continue with the licensed property theme we got going on, because our next game on the list is Jump Force. There we go. Jump Force is a fighting game. It's been a series of fighting games for a while. The previous one that came out to PS4 was J-Star's Victory Plus, and it was not that good, but I can tell you from personal experience that this game, Jump Force, is great. I got to play it at PAX South 2019 in January, and I recently played the beta. This game is going to be so much better. It controls way better. The way I look at it is that Shonen Jump saw Avengers and Infinity War, and they said, hey, we want to do that. Let's make a Jump Force video game in which we have those cinematic moments just like those movies do. And you will get that with this game. You can choose from a bunch of different anime characters from different franchises, from Shonen Jump, anything Shonen Jump has ever done. You're going to have like even deep cuts like Rurouni Kenshin, Yu Yu Hakusho, and obviously right there you can see on the cover that you're going to have a lot of Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, and Naruto presence. And cool thing is you're also going to be able to make your own character, and you're going to be able to play through the story yourself as your own character. I even saw some characters in there like Light and Ryuk from Death Note. I don't think you're going to be able to play as those guys, but they are going to play a part in the story. And there are some original Shonen Jump characters that they have designed specifically for this game as the new threat. And the best way I can compare it to is if you ever played any of the Naruto games or some of the Dragon Ball Z games, the Tenkaichi games. This is an arena fighter. It looks super cinematic. And I highly recommend looking into this game. This game is coming out February 15th. Yeah, February 15th is super stacked. We got more on that later. But this game looks to be pretty promising. And so if you're interested, if you're a fan of anime, or if you're even kind of loosely a fan of anime and you're a fan of some of these franchises, you should give it a look. Alright, for our next game we got another February 15th release. Like I said, we are stacked. This one is Crackdown 3 on the Xbox and PC. Crackdown 3 has been through a little bit of development hell, as they call it in the industry. It's been trying to get released for the last couple years. Microsoft hasn't been quite strong with their exclusives like PS4 was last year. So Crackdown is the third in the franchise. It is similar in the way to like Grand Theft Auto in that you will be traveling in open world, driving vehicles and stuff, but in this series you're like superheroic cops with all kinds of superpowers, super strength, super speed, all kinds of stuff. It is a shooter, so you will be shooting guns at enemies. In the first one, it was all about taking out these various generals and crime organizations. And I'm personally not sure what this one's going to be about, but it looks to be a lot of fun. If you've seen the advertisements, Terry Crews has been a part of a lot of those. And this game, people have hopes for it. People hope it's good because it has been a couple years since it got announced, and nobody ever knew if this was even going to come out. And so I hope that Xbox steps up their game, and I hope this one comes out strong, because they need it right now. And it should be a fun game to play with people. It is going to have some co-op and multiplayer. But it sounds like it's going to be a good time, especially with those superpowers. So if you're into open world sandbox games and you like causing all kinds of destruction, this one is probably going to be for you. Alrighty, we got another big one, and don't worry, this one's not on the 15th. Well, actually technically it is, but that's a long story and a lot of complicated things with EA going on right now. So, this big one is Anthem. This one is a Destiny kind of shared world shooter kind of thing. My joke, and a lot of people's jokes, has been, it feels like Iron Man. You're in a suit with a jetpack, and this is a shooter that you will be playing with your friends and teaming up and taking on missions and things like that. This is a game from BioWare. You might recognize that developer from the likes of Mass Effect and Dragon Age series. I know Andromeda had a bit of a uneasy reception, and a lot of people were hating on it. But Anthem looks to be pretty promising. I personally just tried the demo for the last 2 weekends, and I had a lot of fun with my friends, and even streamed it on the Geeks Under Grace channel. And me personally, I think this is going to be fun, and I would love to party up with anybody that's going to be playing. This is going to be on PC, PS4, and Xbox, and looks to be a great time. You get to choose between 4 different types of suits. You get the Ranger, who's basically balanced. You get the Colossus, who's a big, thick Hulkbuster looking guy, and you also have the Storm, which is very elemental and can fly a lot and stay up in the air a lot. And then you have the Interceptor, who's more melee, like an assassin or like a ninja. So whichever of those classes sounds great to you, you can choose one of those and jump right in when the game comes out on February 22nd. Alrighty, so that is it for the teens and adults section. So these games are not out yet. There were a few that released earlier in the month, but we fell on a strange weekend. One of those is Wargroove, that I highly recommend. Look more into that if you're a fan of Advanced Wars. Anyway, the final segment of this show, we have personal picks. And so I brought up this little guy earlier, as you saw in the beginning of the video, and this guy is known as Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight is an indie game that came out all the way back in 2014. It's very retro themed. I kind of compare it to a mix of like Mega Man and like DuckTales. Mega Man in the fact that you will be fighting all these different kinds of knights, and you'll be playing through their themed levels and taking them down. And the humor is great in this game as well. It's a whole bunch of fun. The DuckTales reference comes in the fact that your main attack as Shovel Knight is you do a downward attack, and you can jump on enemies with your shovel in the same way that Scrooge McDuck does with his cane in the DuckTales games. And so it is so much fun, especially if you like fantasy settings and if you love retro games. You will probably like Shovel Knight. The great thing about this game is that it came out in 2014, but there are multiple campaigns and plenty of extra content that has come out for this game, and it's all been for free. So basically, if you already own a copy of Shovel Knight, you've already been getting this stuff. And Treasure Trove is a new label of the game that contains everything. So you have a standard campaign of Shovel Knight, and then you can also play as Plague Knight is one of them. He's one of the bosses as well. Then you have Spectre Knight, which the Spectre Knight campaign premiered on the Switch whenever the Switch released. And so there's also still more content coming out. There is a new mode, like a multiplayer combat mode called Showdown, I believe it is, where you'll be playing as your favorite knights from the game, and you'll be trying to defeat each other. There's also another campaign coming out based on King Knight, and so you'll be playing as King Knight and going through his campaign and his story in the game. And with that is also a new mode called King of Cards, I believe. and it is based off of a Triple Triad from the Final Fantasy series. So there's loads of content in here. The game is rated E. It is only $20. I highly recommend this, and you can buy it if you have any system: PC, PS4, Xbox One. I mean, PC, whatever you have, you can play Shovel Knight on. And so it is a game, a really darling indie game to a lot of people, and it's probably one of my favorite games of all time. I highly recommend that you check this one out, and let me know if you dig it or if you just want to bury it into your backlog. So that is it for Devoted Gaming in February. You can find out what was on the previous months on the channel. If you go and look back at the previous videos, you can go to the website, geekdevotions.com. You can keep up with all that stuff by clicking the bell, hitting subscribe, whatever you got to do to keep up with all of the great content that comes out on Geek Devotions. You can do that right here. And as for me personally, you can find everything that Geeks Under Grace does at geeksundergrace.com. You can find me at WarHeroLJ on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find me streaming on the Geeks Under Grace Twitch channel at twitch.tv/geeksundergrace. And that's going to be it. Stay devoted and keep gaming.